Want to learn more about using craft materials? Meet local artist Britton Davis. In this studio visit, Britton will tell us about her artwork, why she uses craft materials, and how she creates.
Hi, my name is Britton Davis, and I'm an artist living in Little Rock, Arkansas. I received my MFA in Fiber and Material Studies from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago in 2016. And since then, I've been able to exhibit artwork across the South and Midwest, and even in places like Iceland.
My work is based on exploring materials using digital and physical art making. From weaving to drawing to ceramics, my studio is always adapting and responding to the ideas I'm currently working in. I use everything from spray foam, plaster, tape, wax, and porcelain to create many of my installations and sculptures. My weavings are made using wool, linen, and other found materials. Coiling, rug tufting, sewing, and welding are other fiber, textile, and sculpture processes that I use in my work. I didn't grow up knowing that I would be an artist. One of my favorite things when I was very little was to play with flour in a pie pan on my driveway. Sitting at my little folding table, I would watch everything going on in my neighborhood for hours, just swirling my hands in it. As I grew up, I loved spending time helping my parents renovate our house, reading, and trying to propagate plants. I loved to really feel things, and I was always curious about observing and noticing things in extreme detail.
In college, I studied graphic design, and I directed our student art gallery on campus. I was also able to intern with an artist. Her name is Diana Al-Hadid. And that was a really great experience for me, getting to see the life of a working artist and also work in the scale that Diana worked in was really impactful. Since finishing my studies, I've been able to explore a lot of different creative roles, working as a textile designer, managing a ceramic studio, and even teaching middle school, high school, and college students. And this is my studio intern, Indy. He's a dachshund.
My studio has looked different over the years, but I've never stopped making. And I've met the most inspiring artists and designers through several different artist residencies and being involved in the creative community wherever I've lived. Let's go check out my studio.
These are some weavings that I've made. I use a lot of different materials in my artwork. I work sculpturally, and then I also make things that can be attached to a wall. These are some different ceramic pieces that I've made. You can see that most of them are made out of different types of porcelain and glaze. I also like to use a lot of non-traditional materials, like for instance, paper. This is actually folded paper that is coiled into some different baskets. These are also made in a similar style. I used wax paper and then crayons. So this was very simple to construct, and then an adhesive. So it's kind of a non-traditional coiling process. I love to make paper as well. I just love the endless options that paper making has. This is another weaving that I've made recently. I love incorporating soft sculpture like you can see here, and then also different collaged weavings that I make at different times. So today we're actually gonna get to do that as well, and we're gonna collage what we make together. These are some different embroidery hoops that I use frequently in my work depending on the size of project. I even have some that are bigger than this. These are kind of my medium and small sizes. This is a tapestry loom that I use a lot. So you can see this is not a very high-tech loom. And that's what I love about it, because it actually comes apart and it's actually made to fit inside of my car. This is a more traditional table loom. You can see very old, but it actually gets a lot of use, especially when I want a quick and smaller sample or just something that's not as large in size. I love incorporating 3D printing in my work as well, whether that's a weaving or something that's more sculptural. This is another weaving that I made. So it involves a lot of different soft sculpture and weaving that's then stretched onto a canvas. This is some other ceramic pieces of mine that I've made just to give you some sense of scale. They are very big and heavy. I'll be showing you how I use embroidery, soft sculpture, and paper to create a weaving collage. Okay guys, I'm gonna walk you through how I make one of my cling wrap paint fabrics that we're gonna embroider on. So just any acrylic paint works, and we're going to apply it to our saran wrap. We actually made our own fabric. And so I'm gonna show you guys how to load it onto our embroidery hoop before we get started. And after you tighten your metal clasp at the top, it's in your hoop and you're ready to embroider.
Next, we are going to sew our fabric into shapes and stuff it with polyfill. It's now time for my favorite part, weaving. I like to think of my weavings as a collage. I love the freedom of starting and stopping wherever I want, and mixing yarn and other materials just like you would paint. In terms of gathering materials to weave with, I like to focus on one quality, long. Anything long that is slightly flexible could potentially be woven. You can see how I'm incorporating the cling wrap sections, the dog leash, and yarn to create different textures. Here it is.
My desire to create has only increased and become more clear the more time I've spent with people. Just last year, I was in Mexico City and I was so inspired by a city sanitation employee that had custom made a broom for a specific part of the city that he worked in every day. There was even a placeholder on his truck that was made exactly for that broom. I thought that was so cool. For me, being an artist is seeing things differently. You do not have to have artistic interests early in order to become an artist. And I didn't even start to think of myself as creative until much later in life. Something in terms of process that has been really helpful to me is don't analyze as you're making, because you can outthink a really new experiment or process that you're exploring, and then that really limits new directions in your work. Another thing that I don't think is talked very much about in the art community is staying physically, relationally, and spiritually healthy. Setting yourself up to make a body of work over a lifetime takes humility, hard work, and discipline.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to watch the other videos on this page to learn how to create your own art using a variety of craft materials and continue creating together.